Yo, what's up, guys? It's Faramar here, and today I'm gonna be going over my 8.3 guide again. So I already recorded the 8.3 guide on my stream a few days ago, and then I was at a big gaming convention all weekend, so I just haven't had the chance to re-record it. I had trouble transferring it from Twitch over to YouTube, so. Anyways, I saw that you guys were liking the podcast that I did with Zylu. I appreciate you guys' support with that. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's pretty fun to just listen to. Put it on the car or something, you know. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the guide. So with 8.3, Feral Druid is looking decent. We are not at the top of the charts. We're not at the bottom of the charts. Melee in general is looking really good for the raid. So that's always good for Ferals as well, because when Melee is good, Feral is Melee. There you go. And another, there's some things we can talk about as to why Feral's gonna really excel in this raid, in my opinion. There's a few fights where there's a chaotic AoE, perhaps, and I think Primal Wrath may be worth taking in some of the new fights. But there's a lot of single target patchwork-like fights. And I say patchwork-like, there's some that require you to do mechanics and such, but Ferals are so nimble and so, agile, it's really easy for us to do mechanics and keep up persistent DPS. Whereas some other melees, they struggle with being able to keep up persistent DPS and doing mechanics at the same time. So that's one of the strengths of Feral that maybe some people aren't very familiar with, and if you are not familiar with it, practice it, because if you get really good at timing your energy pooling, you can usually squeeze some mechanics in there. So anyways, I'm not going to go super deep down in any of the fights. I'll have guides for the fights. I did not do any guides for any fights last year, but some people are wanting them, and there was also a request for a dueling guide, but we'll talk about that later. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about our build for 8.3. I will pull up this here. Alright, so up here you can see that the Azrae Essence priority has actually shifted for Feral Druids. This next tier, it's looking like we're going to be running Vision of Perfection for any single target fights. Maybe multi-target, depending on duration and, how many targets, things like that. I think for 2 targets, Vision of Perfection is still going to be superior as well. So there's that too. So let's go ahead and look at why Vision of Perfection is now the go-to. One, Vision of Perfection got buffed by 12% on its proc rate, so it's procking 12% more often. 2, Condensed Life Force got a 2% nerf to its damage overall. And then next up, versatility, or not versatility, Wild Flesh Rending. So Wild Flesh Rending is once again one of our best traits. So all 3 of those things combined, you're not really going to be running Condensed Life Force. I still think Blood of the Enemy is really good. But in single target situations, since we no longer are going to have the Coral Ink Pod, I think Vision of Perfection might reign supreme in the new Trinket meta. With Coral and Ink Pod, Blood of the Enemy was extremely powerful because you would be able to get off that quick, that 100% crit, 25% damage bonus Ink Pod proc when the boss dipped below 30% health. It was extremely powerful. But once we replace our Ink Pods and our Corals, if we replace our Corals, I'll go over that in a second, I think Vision of Perfection is going to reign supreme. So, let's go ahead and look a little bit more into here. So that's the only talent change right now, is switching Soul of the Forest to Incarnation. I think this is going to stand for raids as well. I think you're going to want to take Incarn over Soul dungeons. And also in dungeons, you probably want to be taking Primal Wrath over Brutal Slash. When you're running the Incarn build, you don't particularly use Brutal Slash very often. If you have Incarn up, you want to use Shred. There's a few reasons to that. There's bonus crit damage, or bonus crit that you get on your shreds, and the more persistent reduced energy cost of shred. It just overall, one other thing, Wild Flesh Rending also gives way more damage to shred. So all of those things combined make shred do more damage to energy output or energy expenditure ratio. So Brutal Slash is only going to be really used in the rotation during those times where you have Tiger's Fury up, or you have 3 stacks of it and you do not have Incarn up. I'll go over the rotation towards the end of this video, and I'll include a link down below for all the sections of the video. Alright, so BiS Gear for this next tier. Once again, it's going to be Jungle Fury and Wild Flesh Rending. There's a new Azerite trait called, what's it called? Heart of Darkness. So Heart of Darkness basically gives you flat stats if you're above 25 corruption. It's simming pretty well. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, so it's simming pretty well at 3 stacks. It's actually competing with Wild Flesh Rending. But I think, this doesn't, so I'm looking at HeroDamage.com right now, and this sim actually does not stand up to what Blood Mallet is saying, so I'm kind of concerned there. Here, it looks like a pretty good trait. To me, it sounds pretty decent. It does not sound better than Wild Flesh Rending to me, and Blood Mallet puts Heart of Darkness way near the bottom. So there's some inconsistency there that I expect to be cleaned up probably further into 8.3. But right now, we're going to be aiming for primarily this Jungle Fury and this Wild Flesh Rending. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and look at where you can get those pieces of gear. So you can get Wild Flesh Rending gear from plenty of places. Okay, the key is to get Jungle Fury plus Wild Flesh Rending. So there's the standard places, right? So you can get your Tentacle Ace Pauldrons from Mythic Plus or Shrine of the Storm. But for any eye level, right, you're going to have to get it from the random drop. So that's kind of a bummer. It's a 1 in 6 chance to get the Tentacle Ace Spalders. You can also get the shoulders from Waycrest Manor with the Blightborn Infusion on them, but Jungle Fury is just, it tends to be way better than Blightborn Infusion because you get to time your, you get to time when you're getting that crit bonus rather than being random. So I recommend you get the Tentacle Ace Pauldrons if you can. Or Tentacle Ace Spalders if you can, sorry. Your best helmet is actually going to be the Gibbering Maw, and this drops from Raw Den in the new raid. And I think yeah. Okay, so he's the 9th boss. So it's going to be this helmet here, the Gibbering Maw. This is going to give you the Wild Flesh Ring with the Jungle Fury, and it's going to give you Unstable Flames, which is really good because that gives you the bonus crit. Those are your options basically for your helmet and shoulders. If you do PvP, you can get the Gladiator's shoulder pads. I believe that's what they're called. I have them right here. Yeah, Gladiator's leather shoulder pads for the new season. But your item level, once again, is going to be very reliant on what your rank is in PvP. I recommend that if you for sure don't want to gamble on the Tentacle Ace Spalders early on and you just want to save up that residuum to buy the specific piece later in the tier, I recommend that when it comes to Shoulders Week in PvP, you max your PvP and buy the leather shoulder pads for the Wild Flesh Running Jungle Fury combination. And it also comes with Blood Siphon, which is not great, but the Wild Flesh Running Jungle Fury is the important part. That'll be the easiest way to get your shoulders. Helmet-wise, Gibbering Maw is going to be our best in slot helmet. It drops off the 9th boss, so if you're a Heroic Raider, get it off a normal boss. If you're a Mythic Raider, make sure you get it off the Heroic boss. That's where you want to use your rolls. Then for chest pieces, we actually have plenty of options with chest pieces, so I am not worried. The absolute best in slot chest is going to be the Venture Co chest, which is from Mythic Plus. But you got plenty of options here. So Vexiona also drops the Darkheart Robe, which is Jungle Fury Wild Flesh Running with overwhelming power, which is actually a really good trait. In terms of the minors, but even better is it comes with On My Way, which gives you bonus versatility, which is going to be really good for the Incarn build because it buffs the damage of your shreds, as well as your bleeds. Carapace drops the Tortured Flesh Beast Curus, which is also Wild Flesh Earning with Jungle Fury, and it comes with Gut Ripper. Gut Ripper is pretty decent in PvE, so also a pretty good chess piece. And then Inzoth, actually, never mind. I thought the Inzoth, it's Carapace of Inzoth. I keep calling this Carapace and this Inzoth, whatever. You guys get what I'm talking about. So that's where you're going to get your best in slot gear and your Azerite traits as Feral Druid. Luckily, all those bosses are at the end. Luckily, getting your weapon is going to be a little bit easier. So Mott actually drops the Anzig Vra, excuse my pronunciation of that, which is going to give you the, I'll pull it up here on the screen so you can have the actual, So that is going to be Devour Vitality. So that's what that corruption is called here. Which gives your auto attacks a chance to do 2% of your total health to your target. Really good. But Prophet Skitcher, not Prophet Skitcher, Hive Mind drops Core Nileth, whatever. Cannot pronounce that. And this one gives you Echoing Void, which you can see here if you look up here on the screen I have here. Echoing Void is actually doing way more damage than Devouring Vitality at rank 3. So, if you can, get that ranked up ASAP. And yeah, this is also going to be our best in slot weapon for dungeons, because this does a lot of AoE damage. So not only does a lot of single target, it does a lot of AoE. It's just the BiS weapon for the tier, hands down. But Anzig Vra is also a very strong weapon. So if you get this one and you don't get the other one, don't feel too bad. It's not a game changer, right? Both those weapons are respectable DPS. Alright, best in slot trinkets. So there's kind of a cheese trinket right now. It's called the Psych Shredder. I'll pull up the... so hero damage actually doesn't mark this because it's an intellect trinket. But Psych Shredder is actually pulling ahead right now for DPS for Feral. Note, at 475 eye level, which is mythic, right? Any eye level below this, you're actually going to want to run your Razor Coral above it, or Colterian Cannonball Runner. Colterian Cannonball Runner also is better this tier because we're going to be prioritizing versatility as our second stat. Why? Because Incarn build. I'll go over stats here in a moment as well. So secondary trinkets to Razor Coral or Psych Shredder, Mythic Psych Shredder, are going to be Deadeye Spyglass, Cannonball Runner. The remote guidance device is also good. Your Ink Pod from last tier, if it's 445 or higher, is going to be good. And then Harlan's is always a pretty safe trinket as well for Ferals. So those are going to be your main trinket options. There's plenty of options here, but go for any of those if you can. Corruption wise, alright, so that's kind of what I had over here. Infinite Stars right now is blowing everything out of the water. It actually got a flat 25% damage nerf, but it is still pulling ahead of everything else. Infinite Stars actually comes on gear though, so for corruption wise, you want to try and get Infinite Stars and Twisted Appendage when it comes to your gear. So try and stack those as much as possible. Once again, you want to make sure that you're aware of your sanity as well. So, another thing, let me dive into essences. minor essences. I went over the majors. I'll go over the minors, and I'll just restate this again. Number 1 is going to be Vision and Perfection. Number 2 is going to be Blood of the Enemy, as long as you have a Razor Coral with an ink pod still. Respectable eye levels on those, 445 plus. Your minors are actually going to be Lucid Dreams, and then this new one, Breath of the Dying. Breath of the Dying basically gives you passive damage on your abilities. It's nothing fancy or anything like that. It's basically a better version of Condensed Life Force now. In Raid, though, almost every boss is an aberration. So you're going to want to take Purification Protocol, rank 3. And if you don't have that, I highly recommend farming it, because this is going to do way more damage than Breath of the Dying, and it's going to also do more than Lucid Dreams. So if you are only 70 neck level like I am, and you only have 2 passives, then you're going to want to take Vision of Perfection. I'll go ahead and put this up here so you guys can see. Vision of Perfection, right? On Aberrations, you're going to replace Lucid Dreams with Purification Protocol and have Breath of the Dying. On non-aberrations, you're going to have Lucid Dreams and you're going to have Breath of the Dying. Once you get 3 traits, you're actually going to, on aberrations, you're going to have Purification Protocol, Breath of the Dying, and Lucid Dreams. On non-aberrations, you're going to have Lucid Dreams, Breath of the Dying, and Crucible of Flame. Those are going to be your best minors if you have 3. If you have 2, remember to be switching out your Purification Protocol and your Lucid Dreams at rank 3. Only rank 3. Rank 3 gives you bonus damage on your Purification Protocol. Alright, let's go stat priority. So with Incarn being our number 1 talent now, or number 1 essence, we're going to be running with Incarn, and with the breakdown of Incarn, it's actually going to be vastly different than the breakdown that you normally see, whereas, you know, Ferocious Bite is just destroying everything else. So you're going to want to run crit up to about 35%, because that's going to be your crit cap. Essentially, 30 to 35% crit. Calculate in your Jungle Fury as well, which is going to be about 10% per trait. So essentially, you're going to be at 60. You're going to have 30% from your Jungle Furies, 35% on your BiS Gear, and your crits on your shreds are actually doubled with Incarn up. So you'll have essentially 100% crit on your shreds as long as you're in Incarn. Which happens way more often now that Vision and Perfection procs 12% more. So, on your opener, this is going to be the rotation for the Incarn build. There's a few niches. Overall, it's a very simple build. It's very straightforward. Anybody can do it. There's not much skill involved. There's a few things that you can change and prioritize to get a little bit more output than somebody else, but for the most part, you're going to rely on Vision and Perfection procs. So I don't know if you guys are going to enjoy that, but yeah. So first things first, get your Blood Talons up. We are still running Blood Talons, and we're running Sabretooth. And you're going to go ahead and go into Stealth. Then before you pull the boss, you will pre-pot. I'm not going to pre-pot here. Berserk, Tiger's Fury, into a Rake, Coral if you have it, right? And actually, I messed up there. I am so used to the other opener that I use Brutal Slash. You actually do not want to use Brutal Slash on your opener anymore. Why? Because Shred is actually going to do way more damage than Brutal Slash as long as you have Incarn up. So do not do that. You want to just Shred for the combos, right? Alright, let's talk about some niches with the build. Okay? Outside of Incarn, you still want to be using your Brutal Slashes in your Tiger's Fury windows, right? You still want to be snapshotting your Rakes, right? With your Blood Talons and your Tiger's Furies if possible, okay? Here's some gotchas, alright? When Incarn procs, if you have a level 1 or a level 2 Rake, and what do I mean by level 1 or level 2 Rakes? Okay, a level 1 Rake is completely unbuffed. A level 2 Rake is Blood Talons plus is Blood Talons or Tiger's Fury rake. A level 3 rake would be Blood Talons plus Tiger's Fury. If you have a level 1 or 2, or level 3, whenever you get Incarn, you're going to want to put up a level 3 immediately, right? Even without Tiger's Fury and just Blood Talons, you're going to want to replace your rake. Why? Because in Incarnation, rake deals 100% bonus damage. So you want to make sure you get that up over any other rake. If you have a rake that was cast not in Incarn, just to simplify it, if you have a rake that is cast not in Incarn, and you get Incarn, cast rake almost immediately. Unless you know you can get a Tiger's Fury plus Blood Talons lined up pretty quickly. You do not want that ticking lower than the 100% damage modifier. So yeah, that's probably it, really. Maintain your thrashes for your wild flesh rendings. And keep a close eye on your Incarn procs. This build currently has extremely high highs, and the average for it has also been adjusted. So you can pop off completely on this build, and even when you don't get insane procs with it, you're still going to be doing a lot more output than your previous build with the Soul of the Forest, right? Anyways, guys, that's my 8.3 guide. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Anybody that has questions, feel free to stop by the stream, say hey, drop your question. I love answering questions. Leave a comment down below, etc. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy 8.3. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one.